My name is Rick Rash, and I was an Air Force fighter pilot for 45 years. And we'll do a real quick run through of my life and the events that happened. And it had, number one, my Air Force. Number two, my dance with and without, and then with God. The two are immeasurably mixed. I graduated from Virginia Tech in 1965, and 1 month later was in pilot training in Williams Air Force Base, Arizona. So it happened rather quick. Y'all remember the Vietnam War was on at that time. So I went through pilot training and graduated in August of 1967 and went through F4 training immediately, learning how to be a fighter pilot and use all the weapon systems and all the things that a fighter airplane has that a trainer does not have. And finished that in 6 months and immediately deployed to Kumsan, Korea. Y'all probably remember a ship called the Pueblo. Those Koreans stole the Pueblo, and our wing deployed over there because we were going to bomb Wonsan Harbor, destroy the Pueblo, and start a war. So we were there for 6 months, and we planned war missions, flew escort missions, and didn't do much of anything. So we redeployed back to the States, and then I turned around 2 months later and deployed to Vietnam. Started my 156 missions in Vietnam, combat missions. And all kinds of missions, night escort, day strike, night strike, dogfight, air superiority, and then finally became what was called a wolfpack. And our mission was to go low altitude, high speed, and find targets that were in the forest, and then bring airplanes in to bomb them. So we were the guys, the eyeballs, to find the targets. And we took it off a lot of shooting, a lot of guns. And finally on my 101st mission, I got it. And was on the ground for 3 days. And they finally picked me up. My backseat unfortunately was killed on the second day. I was pretty well beat up. The airplane, the front of the airplane had blown off, and I was sitting in flames until I finally ejected. And I ran and found a cave, at which point I was in pretty bad streets. And I remember the second night, shuddering in pain and shock, and started to pray. And said, I got out of my mouth, oh God. And then I stopped and I said, no, you've never used God before, and you can take care of this yourself. Don't ask him now. If that's not stubborn, I don't know what is. But that was my dance without God. That's so far. My mother had been a very good Christian woman. My father was not. He would drop us off at church and come back and pick us up. Later on, he became an elder and became a very good Christian, but in my formative years, he was not. And that may have been part of my resistance as well. At any rate, they finally rescued me, and I got out of the hospital a couple months later and went back and flew 35 more missions and then rotated to Europe. And had a great time in Europe doing all kinds of missions, and I became what in the Air Force is known as a wild weasel. Why they call that, I don't know, but the mission is to seek out enemy surface-to-air missiles that are trying to kill us and find them and kill them before they get us. That was our job. So I did that in Europe for 4.5 years, and then reassigned to Dallas Air Force Base, where I became the test pilot and program manager for a brand new Wild Weasel airplane. Flew out of Edwards Air Force Base primarily. Had a wonderful time with that, and then went to Saudi Arabia, became instructor pilot for the Saudi Air Force. And you learn something in the Saudi Air Force. They're either very good pilots or they're camel drivers. And if you have you're in the back seat and you're doing an instructor pilot for a Saudi airplane pilot, if he goes inshallah, you better grab the airplane, because inshallah means if God wills it, which means he's quit. so you're very carefully. I finished up that tour and then went back to the Pentagon, then back to Georgia, became a squadron commander of a Wild Weasel squadron there. Probably the best 2 years of my whole life was commanding a fighter squadron. It was great. And then retired. It was quite a busy time. The Vietnam War ended, and it was a great time. When I retired, I went to California and Anaheim and went to work for a company there. And I met this person I found really attractive. Her name was Liz. And Unfortunately, the job was not attractive, so I quit the job and I drove back cross country to my home, Virginia, where I wanted to go. All my life, I wanted to go home to Virginia. And a couple months later, Liz came over and joined me, and I asked her to marry me. And here comes, up till now, you haven't heard me say anything about God because there's no God in my life, except for to die out. We were in the process of getting married, standing in front of this gentleman who was doing a great job. She was crying. She was very emotional. I figured she knew how bad it was going to be, so she was crying. But, this guy got to the point, I'm sure all of you have heard about the cord of 3 strands. One strand can be broken pretty easily. 2 strands is not very easy. 3 strands is very, very hard to break. Well, I had never heard that before, and he got the strand of Liz, the strand of you, and the strand of God in your lives. And I swear a lightning bolt went through me. I started shaking. I sweat so bad I left white stains on the top of my shoes, and I was just shaking. And because it hit me. I had 2 marriages failed already. I'd never had God in my life. I never had God in my marriage. And it occurred to me in a lightning bolt. Richard, you've ignored God. You've been paying one great price for it all your life. And at that moment, I accepted Jesus. Wow. That just like that. And I don't remember a whole lot more of the ceremony. I was just so overwhelmed with what just happened to me. And we got all done, and I told Liz what had happened. And she was shocked, but I was still shocked too. It was an immediate conversion. And that changed my entire life. Until then, I was doing everything for me to prove that I was the best. I was the best fighter pilot. I was the best. You know, very fresh kid. You want to be the best. You got to. So all of a sudden, it didn't really matter very much anymore. It was more important that I be a better person in God, not in Rick. And that pretty much is how I got to where I am. Has our marriage been absolutely perfect? No, it's been awfully good. Have I been a perfect Christian? Oh gosh, no. I have my fault to learn. I still have a lot to learn. But I have help now, and I'm not on my own anymore. And that's about it.
That's about it. That's a lot. Thank you.